Let's talk bearing maintenance. One of the best things for RC racing that I've found is upgrading your bearings. But to do it properly, you need to do quite a bit of maintenance. And when I first started out, I would take the ceramic bearings, which is my bearing of choice, from Whitz Racing, and I would take the shields off using tools like this tweezer here and an X-Acto knife and things like that. And to do all the driveline bearings took forever, and I got so sick and tired of trying to get those metal clips off. It was incredibly frustrating. And the shields are directional, so if you put those in wrong, all sorts of mistakes can be made, and I just hated doing bearings. And that's when I looked for an easier solution. And after doing a bunch of research, there was no clear sort of winner, but I saw people recommending ultrasonic jewelry cleaners. Some people said it will damage the bearings, some people said it works fantastic. I've been doing it for almost 4 years now, and I've only had 3 bearing failures. One was a complete blowout, and the other 2, when I was cleaning them, I could tell that the inner ring was a little bit loose, and so I just threw them away and bought new ones. And those are the only failures I've had, doing it at least once a month, typically cleaning my entire driveline bearings once a week. So that's pretty good for me. And the fact that it takes less than 10 minutes to do a whole set of bearings is just all the more reason why. So let's go through the tools of the trade here. So we got some safety equipment, latex glove. A lot of these chemicals are pretty harsh, so definitely recommend that. Of course, eyewear, super important. You're gonna be spraying things at high pressure into small areas, so you can get some splatter and things like that. Do not want that stuff in your eyes, so definitely recommend both of those things. We've got the RPM bearing blaster here, so basically you just put your bearing in here and then you use this cleaner. This is my cleaner of choice, you can use other ones. And the tip goes in here and it sprays. You flip the bearing, spray, and you're good to go. This is the ultrasonic cleaner, just something cheap from Amazon. It's got a little tray in here, and you put this degreaser inside to cover the bearings. And then you run this. It runs about a 5-minute clean. And this has been the single best thing I've done. 5 minutes, and nothing I've done gets them as clean as this. So this is a huge part of it. We've got some brake cleaner there. Some bearing lubrication, and that's all you're really going to need. So the exact process I go through is I typically keep 2 sets of bearings, full sets for the driveline. I run metal shielded ceramic bearings everywhere, even in the hubs. Some people say like to run sealed with rubber, kind of like what comes in the kit, but even ceramic. But those have less rolling resistance, and so for me, your driveline's only as good as its weakest point, so it's worth it for me to run full ceramic metal shielded bearings in the hubs with lightweight oil. So when I take the car apart, I immediately put it back together with my set of bearings that are cleaned and ready to go. And then I clean the other bearings throughout a couple-day process, just so I don't have to be rushed. But so what I do basically is I take it off, put it in here, run it for 5 minutes, take it out, pat it dry with some blue shop towels, try to dry them as much as I can, and then I immediately put it in here, every single one, both sides, and just give it a 1 to 2 second spray with this cleaner here. And then I put them back on another shop towel, and then I wait for those to dry. And this is a really critical step. It takes a while, but you do not want to skip it. So you need to let them dry for about 24 hours. If you do not let them dry, and there's a little bit of either this degreaser or the cleaner or whatever you're using, and then you put bearing oil in it, it will gum up that bearing oil eventually within a week. And so that'll just completely ruin your rolling resistance. So all that effort thrown out the window. So you let them dry for 24 hours, and then you give them a little test with this bearing tester once they've sat for 24 hours. And if they still feel gritty or any sort of stuff inside of there, any resistance or anything like that, then I send them through that process. But instead of this cleaner in the bearing blaster, I will use brake clean. So I only use brake clean if this cleaner doesn't work. You can do it before the 24 hours, but the way I sort of do it, I give it 24 hours to let everything sort of get out of the bearing. But it's really up to you. Waiting 24 hours and needing to do them again can turn a 1-day process into a 3 to 4 day process if you keep doing it that way. But that is sort of the way to let this first round work its magic. But that's about it. When I have them dry and ready to go, my bearing of oil of choice is TDK bearing oil. There's a sort of inverse relation to how long your bearings will last with the weight of your oil. So if you use ultra light viscosity, you have to clean them and maintain them faster versus if you use grease, for example. Grease protects your bearings a lot more, so you can run them a lot longer. Like kit bearings last a long time, and that's what they're meant to do. But they don't have anywhere near the rolling capabilities of ceramics with ultralight viscosity. So you really choose your viscosity based on how often you can do maintenance. So, and that's about it. And so once I put this oil on there, I'll do one last test with the bearing tester here just to make sure that they're rolling how they should. How they should is extremely subjective, but once you've done it a lot, you start to know how each of the bearings will actually roll. So like these larger ones and these smaller ones, they'll spin longer or shorter based on the size of the bearing and things like that. And again, you'll pick that up pretty quickly as you go. So yep, that's about it. What I do with the bearings keeps them optimal and gives me the best efficiency of my vehicle.